Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Dev with Excel. Alright, so in this video we shall be solving exercise 3.21, which is deploying the database backend to production, right? So here we are expected to have both the front end and the back end running together, properly integrated, right, and pushed to production. Trying to view it on the local host, we use this address, right? Let's see how this works. Alright, so going to the VS Code, I currently have a setup folder called production deployment. Now, this is a duplicate of step 8, which was the previous video, right? And this setup folder is what we are going to be editing, and then containing the front end. We integrate all of them and then push this online. So we are going to be closing this. This belongs to the previous exercise. This also we close it. So coming down to production deployment, we copy its parts. We simply do cd space then the parts, and we do npm run. While that is trying to run, let's click on the file that we need. Okay, so I actually have a dist here. Let me just get this and then show us how to get that dist folder. Okay, now what we can do is this. So this is the file we have, right? And then the instruction here wants us to load or to launch the backend using this link, and then it is going to give us everything in the front, in both the front end and the back end. Let's see if that works. So pasting it here, this says cannot get slash, right? So our code is currently not optimized to do that. So let's go back again. So what we can do is this. We need to go back to our VS Code, and then we integrate this back end to the front end. Now the front end we've been working with is the phone book step 12, right? So we are also going to cd into this folder. So we simply just copy the parts and we do okay. So while that is trying to come up, yeah, so we do cd and then copy the parts, and then the next thing we want to do, we don't need to do npm run dev here. Rather, we simply do npm run build. So this is going to create a dist folder that contains the front end implementations, right? And then after when that is done, we copy this folder to the back end. So let's run this code. So here you are going to notice that a dist folder is going to be generated here soon. While once this is done here, we are going to get a dist folder. Awesome. Here, so we can see we have the dist folder here, right? So this is the folder we need to copy to the back end. So we simply just copy this folder. Let's copy it and then locate the back end. The back end is production deployment, right? So we paste it in here. So that is done. Now this is refreshed also. Now let's go back to our browser and see what we have. Let's refresh this. Okay, now this is expected not to work, right? Because there's a line of code we need to put in the backend before this works. And that line of code deals with what? Static files, right? So looking at this part of this note here, there's a part that says serving static files from the backend. Let's click on it. So here it says to make Express show static content, which are the index.html and the JavaScript, right? It fetches, yes, we need a built-in middleware from Express called static, right? So this is the code we need. So we simply copy this code and then we go to our VS Code. We can paste this above the cause, right? Directly above the cause, right? So then let's save this. When we save this part also, the server refreshes, right? It reloads. Now let's go back to the browser and see if that works. Now let's refresh this. Awesome. Now we can see that we have everything coming from everything we have in the front end also showing in this back end. Now we are not running this on Vite, right? We didn't do anything Vite here. This is just back end that is able to integrate with the front end properly. This also helps us to perform every other CRUD implementations, right? So we can choose to delete Stevenson here. That still works fine because everything is properly integrated, right? Let's see what we have next. So we've been able to solve this. Let's what we have next in the instruction. So it says verify that everything works locally by using the entire application from the address. This works fine. Now we are supposed to push this or deploy this to render, right? This is something I should do, but I have a video on this particular series, right, which we have already watched, we've already used, where we were shown how to deploy both the front end and the back end, right, to render. So I'll just show us the video. I'll just guide us to the video that helps us to do that. Okay, the whole app to the internet. I think this is it. So while we were solving exercise 3.10, we deployed the backend to the internet. Now this backend also had the dist folder. The same way we just did this one is exactly the way we did this exercise 3.10. You could go back to watch it, or I could just show you on the YouTube playlist. So this is a YouTube playlist, right? This is the playlist so far. So scrolling down to where we have exercise 3.10. Okay, so this is a video, right, that talks about how to deploy your backend that already has a dist folder, right, to render. So once you follow this step, since you've done it before, it will be easier for you to do it again. But if you are having issues, just follow the steps that are being used here to solve the remaining part of this exercise, which is exercise 3.21, right? So with that, when you're through with that, you'll be able to get something like this, but it's going to be a deployed application, right? Having this where we can perform all your CRUD implementation. All right, so with this, friends, I think we've come to the end of this exercise. Um, See you in the next video. Bye.